Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Going to be talking about the Stahlta today and how this should be a consideration for a daily driver for many of you in the clan and the alliance. Um, this weapon is actually somewhat unique, and as far as I know, is one of the few weapons where it has a primary and an altfire. That's not the unique part, but galvanized aptitude is actually treated as multiplicative damage on both forms, not the AoE of the altfire, but the primary hit, because there's the delay, right? And because this weapon counts as like a normal primary, you actually also gain the benefit of larger ammo pickups, which is 40. So this weapon doesn't have the downside as, say, a Tenet Tetra, where it has the big magazine, right? But when you alt fire, it uses 80, and you require a couple of pickups in order to recover. Yeah, magazine's 80, the ammo pickup's 40, right? And then you have the current go-to for AoE clear, where the Tonkor is 1 magazine, so every time you have to reload, not a big deal. And the ammo pickup is 3, so as long as you can burn stuff down with the AoE, you'll be fine ammo economy wise. But this weapon doesn't have a primary fire. If I can spell it right. This weapon has an AoE alt fire and a primary fire that allows you to take advantage of the fact that it's a bullet hose. It has a much better ammo economy for the alt fire, where every time you pull the trigger, it's 20 ammo. So you get 2 shots for every ammo pickup. It does just as good a damage as the Tenet Tetra. Because the altfire has a crap ton of base damage on it. I have no base damage boost right now with this, and it's 2,800. The multi-shot is affecting it. Let's see what it is without. Yeah, 1,200. Right? So not bad. For a base damage. So 2,800 base damage. It's also radiation based. So if you run like a corrosive build, you will have both 75% ideal damage types to deal with Grenier. So for Grenier, this is a very potent weapon. I think lore-wise, this was the weapon that the Corpus used to kill the Grenier, right? So it's fitted to deal with like a really easy corrosive build, where you could go corrosive heat. If you didn't want to do like an internal bleeding build, this is an alt fire build, right? But let me show you the builds. I'm not going to try to make this too much of a build video, but more of a damage showcase. But if you're looking for a daily driver, right, where it's flexible, you still get some room clearing, it's got better ammo economy, still hits decent slash ticks. It's not necessarily going to outperform the Tonkor in terms of like AoE. But that being said, if you were to do like a 100 munitions build, you're still going to be getting 50, 60k slash ticks, right? Because the altfire has a higher crit chance and a higher crit multiplier. So you can still get really solid slash ticks out of it. Obviously, you wouldn't do shred. This is the primary fire build for slash. And not only that, but the primary fire is actually weighted slash to begin with. So 100 munitions would be providing its own slash procs, and the primary fire would most likely be triggering slash to begin with, right? So for your consideration for a daily driver setup, let me show you the... Oh, and on top of that, it has an 8 punch through. So when you equip something like Prime Shred, you get 3.4 punch through. So no self-priming here. Oh, and we're also using galvanized acceleration. I'm seeing 12Ks. I saw 166, 7K, 28K. 19K, 7K, 6K, 3K. 97K on a headshot. 8K, 88K. 71K on a headshot. The weapon's got some pretty decent potential, considering it's a bullet hose. Obviously, if you have a riven, it would slot right over this, over serration in this build. But even sinking like as much forma as I have into it, I actually don't mind it, to be honest. And if you don't have like the Bane mod or Shred, you could also do like Fervor and use these as your elements. But you would want to lower them. So you're still priming, so you're still hitting status as much as possible. Just for the additional element. And use the viral from the Panzer to keep your damage up, right? So we're all scaling. The first kill is going to be the hardest. Obviously galvanized acceleration for attack speed, or for fire rate. And ammo recovery on this is going to be super important. Probably the most important mod on here, to be honest, is going to be the ammo mutation. But once the stacks climb, the stacks climb, it'll be pretty easy to keep your ammo up. But you just want to make sure that the slash stays up. If you do have galvanized acceleration, I would highly recommend... if you do have arcane acceleration, sorry, on the frame, arcane acceleration. From doing Eidolon hunts, this is also a somewhat cheap arcane. It's not like the cheapest. But if you do buy it, you would slot base damage here to get your base damage up. So you don't have the issue at the beginning, like we just did. You're still going to be somewhat reliant on the stacks. But once the galvanized stacks get brought up, you'll be able to kill pretty easily. Yeah, lots of slash procs. It's a lot more raw damage because of the corrosive. So obviously a little better ammo economy than normal. But for a daily driver, this is going to easily allow you to do Steel Path. It's also part of the reason why I do the Shred and just go pure slash, right? Just to maximize the slash damage as much as possible, get as much punch through. It feels really good. And it obviously performs better, but it does require 2 prime mods. If you have like even like regular Grineer, regular Bana Grineer in this will perform pretty solid as well. But that would be like a bullet hose option, right? A little bit of punch through, you wouldn't gain the benefit of the punch through from Prime Shred. So this works. These are all farmable. This works better, right? More fire rate, more punch through, higher faction damage. So the slash increase is better. Like, obviously, when we were doing headshots, we were getting like 70k, 80k, 90k. So if you're aiming, and the recoil is non-existent. I mean, okay, it's there, right? But, like, that's not bad. So, for the same build, without having to build another weapon, you actually gain access to the altfire, right? And those builds are actually pretty nice. You can build for corrosive and actually be able to take advantage of galvanized scope and be able to use deadhead, provided you're hitting headshots. So instead of looking at the auto damage, right, up here, we would look at the charge down here, and you would have 2-part damage. The 2700 from the direct damage, which is one of the things that makes this weapon pretty nice, is this portion of the damage actually does get boosted multiplicatively with galvanized aptitude. And that's what makes this weapon, as far as I can think, I can't think of another weapon that has a primary fire and a charge fire or alternate fire where it's multiplicative. I think the Fulman is, but don't quote me on that. I think the Fulman is the other one, but this one also has an AoE. And more importantly, it doesn't have a swap time, right? Because like if you're using the Fulman, you basically pick your mode at the beginning of the mission and you go to town, right? And if you're doing an internal bleeding setup, which is super broken still, it does require you to get that distance, where this weapon doesn't have that issue. You just gotta hit them. But because it's all raw damage on the AoE, you can actually still get triggered. You can still trigger deadhead. So you can actually take advantage of all the mods on this build. And let me show you that. And the damage is pretty tasty. We're going to prime the first couple so we can kill them a little easier. Alright, we're stacked up. 600k. Nice 700k. But here's the thing, we can prime also. Add damage vulnerability. 5.6 million. Because it's multiplicative. Not on the AoE, it's on the direct part of the charge fire. So this is one of the few weapons that can take advantage of the multiplicative scaling on both forms, right? So it's hyper flexible, and I'd really recommend, if y'all are looking, if you're like a free-to-play player, considering the Stahlta as a potential daily driver. Because even with as much forma as I have in this, you can get 1 mil slash ticks out of it. Like, you can get nasty slash ticks out of it. There we go. So for whatever need you have, right? You could run an AoE setup with fire rate. If you don't have arcane acceleration, you would have to fit fire rate in here, and it'd probably be right here over the vigilante armaments. The only thing that's going to be the difficult part about this is this weapon is still super ammo hungry, because every time you pull the altfire trigger, it's 20 ammo. But the good news is that every time you pick up ammo, it's double what it's a full mag. So you can spam it pretty heavily. So for your consideration, this is a internal bleeding setup where it relies on the direct damage. So it'd be this damage right here, not the radial. As nice as the radial is, it's not getting boosted by galvanized aptitude, and this is the force slash proc, or the forced impact proc, and we wouldn't worry about the auto fire damage, right? So you would be auto reload, or charge shot reload. But for now, we'll do this, and let me show you that damage. Oh. First one's the worst. Okay, first one, no viral, is 101. Alright, 13. Must have missed the headshot. 116. Round that up to 1 mil. Okay, that was a one shot. We didn't even get to see the slash. One tapped. 460k. Alright, half mil. 163. 979. 185. Oh, I lost stacks. 1 second. $335. 404. Little over 1 mil, and that guy died to raw damage. So it's going to be a little bit more ammo hungry. But the damage is there. Obviously got a little over a 1 mil slash tick, which is pretty nice. But for your consideration, this, as far as I can tell, this weapon is essentially untouched by the nerfs. Because of how it works. The ammo economy on the altfire when you're spamming it can get pretty bad, but obviously you're not going to be fighting a bunch of Gokstad officers, right? But like even the primary fire, this does steel path no problem, and you don't have ammo issues. You're going to run into some issues where you would kind of prefer another weapon. With maybe a higher status chance, where you don't have to run hunter munitions, but this weapon does steel path no problem. And the best thing about this weapon, and this is almost the entire reason why I wanted to talk about it. Hold on. Is let's look at auctions. Hold on. The direct sales are kind of memes. They're memes. Look at these selling prices for Stahlta rivens. Somebody's literally selling a Stahlta riven right now for 1p. There's a couple for 40, 50. Scroll down more. We haven't even hit 100 yet. The Stahlta riven pricing is garbage. Let's do auctions. Crit chance electricity, that would be good on a corrosive build. For headshot. Buyout price is 60. You're seeing an 89, 90. They jump up a little more. You're starting to see rolls. This weapon gets pretty nasty pretty quick in terms of damage. Especially if you get like crit chance, crit damage, and like something else. Um, but it just doesn't need a bunch. Like, this would be a pretty solid 3+. Multi-shot crit chance and slash for, like, the altfire. That wouldn't be bad. And for the primary fire, that'd probably be a pretty good price. 129. That's not bad. So, that's part of the reason is because I know a lot of you are, like, considering rivens. And the rivens for this weapon are in the dumpster. And it's a 1.0 riven dispo right now. So they're not bad. It's not astronomically high. But compare that to like a Tonkor or a Brahma right now, right? The Brahma is so underutilized. I think they actually buffed the riven dispo like a patch or two ago. So things like that are things to be considered. Obviously 1.0 is pretty decent. If you're thinking about doing this build, I would slot it over Serration. Because even though it scales beneficially with aptitude, multi-shot would just do better. Like multi-shot crit chance, especially if you could push this over 100%. Especially if you could push it over 100%, that multi-shot crit chance slash riven would probably be a really nice +3. So, for those of you that are like free to play, you don't like selling too much, you could forma this weapon a couple of times, and I have 6 forma in it, and I'm not sorry about it. And it would probably require another forma to fit a riven on this build. But if you don't have Prime Shred or like Prime Bane of Grineer, you would save capacity that way, right? But this weapon, as far as I can tell, has been untouched by the ammo changes. It's got enough of an ammo pool that unless you're spamming alt fires, you can run out of ammo. But if you're looking for something where it adds some flexibility to the gameplay, for your consideration for a daily driver, seriously, this is really solid. And I'm going to do, if you're just looking for like a build and what I was trying to talk about, the video is essentially over. I'm just going to do like 5 minutes to the first acolyte and Tavuni, just to show the damage, and go to the first acolyte. So, thank you for watching. Enjoy the footage.
Scans show Grineer are harvesting Kuva nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out, then steal their Kuva catalysts. Predictable. As expected, Grineer have shut down the environmental systems, sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuva catalysts to begin harvesting. Prepare for life support. life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time. Life support incoming. Another life support capsule is now available.
Oh, sorry. Somebody did ask me to give, like, more commentary about the footage, like what they're supposed to be looking at. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of the bullet hose aspect of the weapon. And I have them in 2 bottlenecks right now. Now, it's not really a stable location. Like, you're not going to do a long run like this, right? Because there's no AoE on the primary fire. It's not like the Ignis, right? Where you have like infinite body punch through. So I'm just trying to take advantage of the punch through that we do have because of shred, and keep them sort of lined up and taking advantage of what's essentially free damage because of the punch through. But if you notice, we do have a slight issue. It's not, this isn't going to be anything meta breaking. Because if you see, our life support is going down.
Life support has been replenished.
If we were life support stable, it would be a way better weapon due to kill rate, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's the type of weapon that it is. And because of how weak the guys are.
This will help our cause. When you are ready,
Even with altfire, we're still hitting for like 23k. Saw a 2k. Oh. Okay, he died. I didn't get to see what his damage. The amount of slashes jumping around based on whether I got a slash tick on the AoE or the primary fire. But because of how weak the enemies are, even spamming alt fires, I'm able to keep my ammo up because I'm killing enough.
additional life support has arrived.
So like a more central point like this, where there's like lots of exits, would be more favorable to AoE, right? As you can see, I can just blast the entrances. Where like hallways with a punch through weapon would be more favorable for bullet hoses. Like an 81k slash. But then you get like a 6k, right? And it's because Fall Off murdered you. But then you get like a 41k. It has a lot to do with the slash procs on the multi-shot. Whether you RNG 100 munition tick, or maybe you get 2. And whether it's like a normal crit or like an enhanced crit, like an orange crit. That's what's causing the slash damage to jump around. But it's a solid weapon for Steel Path. Pretty easily does the damage. Even against Thrax. If you're doing like Zeraman stuff, honestly, I would say swap the faction mod for what would it be, like a hammer shot would be a pretty solid choice. Because now you have to consider that, because we have a lot of enemies that don't have factions, right? So it's a standard 100 munitions build, not a big deal. And you would take something like this, and you would recover some of your lost damage from not having a faction by higher crit multiplier, right? 8.4, super nice on the altfire, but it's 5.0 on the primary, right? And you would just kill him with slash. You could potentially mod it for, say, like magnetic and toxin, and you would have to sacrifice, say, something like this for some alternatives. You do magnetic with like a big toxin. Let's see. Magnetic toxin, and then we would balance. Okay, so a little bit more for, say, a like a Zeraman build when it's a Corpus mission. You could do something like this, though technically you do lose some fire rate. This would allow you to run this setup. You could also recover it, right, by running it the crit if you really like it. Like, say you have Prime Shred, but you don't have Prime Bane, right? You could recover it this way. So it's food for thought. You would just adjust the build. I found this forma, or this polarity setup, to be flexible enough to swap between all of the styles, and having the one flex slot feels really nice. So, food for thought, potential daily driver. Was getting some questions about people struggling with the ammo nerf. And this weapon, unless you're literally spamming alt fires, legitimately feels like it's untouched. So, food for thought. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm going to end the video now. Thank you for watching, and take it easy, guys.